Hi everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We'll be starting our workshop in about 5 minutes.
Okay, a very good morning to everyone who's here today. Um, my name is New Tian. I'm part of the academic team of the Global Youth Leaders Summit 2026. Together with me are Erica and Payan. Just want to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Erica. I'm also an academic director at the Global Youth Leaders Summit.
Hi everyone, I'm Pei and I'm also an academic director at the Global Youth Leaders Summit. So we'll be starting our workshop as of now. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start. So the topic for this roundtable series will be on sustainable tourism. So here is a brief overview of what we're going to cover today. We'll have a short introduction to the workshop, to the topic, which is on tourism and its impacts, and also the impacts of unsustainable tourism, as well as introduction to sustainable tourism. And we're going to look into different case studies around the world and discover what are the benefits and impacts of their own forms of sustainable tourism. And after that, we'll have some discussion time with all the participants today, especially given that we have a really wide range of participants today from diverse backgrounds. And lastly, we'll be having our engagement session with our guest speaker, Mr. Vira, today. Okay, so let's start with the introduction to the workshop. So just a brief introduction about our organization first. So GYLS stands for Global Youth Leaders Summit, which is partnered with the Character and Leadership Academy, CLA, and is a youth for youth social enterprise. Our goal is to go from local to global, and I believe that today we have kind of achieved this goal because we have participants from Indonesia, from Haiti, all over the world. So we're really happy to see you guys today. So our organization actually established in 2021, and we actually started off as an annual Model United Nations conference before expanding into national youth organization. So some of you might have attended our months previously. So our aim is to raise awareness about policy and diplomacy for sustainable development among youth, both local and global. And we actually have many programs each year, and the Roundtable series is actually just one of them. Okay, and just a brief introduction about our roundtable series. So it's actually only started this year, and this is actually only our second workshop. So the roundtable series is a series of workshops aimed to promote the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the UN SDG goals in short, to provide youth with accessible platform for an open discussion about global issues, stoke greater interest and involvement of youth in global issues, and inspire them to make positive change. So we aim to develop crucial soft skills that are essential for the youth in the 21st century, such as balancing conflicting perspectives. Okay, without further ado, let's quickly move into the UN SDG goals. So this is a picture of all the UN SDG goals by the UN, the United Nations. So for today, we are mainly covering Okay, so we'll be covering three UN SDG goals. The first one will be SDG number 8, which stands for decent walk and economic growth. So statistically, tourism actually accounts for 1 in 10 jobs globally. So sustainable tourism ensures these aren't just seasonal low-wage positions, but stable, decent work opportunities, particularly for youth, women, and rural populations. Next, SDG 12. It stands for Responsible Consumption and Production. So, sustainable tourism aims to reduce massive footprints such as food wastage, energy usage, and single-use plastics. And lastly, is actually life below water. So in coastal and in island nations, coastal and marine tourism are actually crucial to their survival. So we have people from Indonesia today, we have people from Haiti today. Um, Actually, coastal and marine tourism all play a crucial part in their own regions. So today we'll also look into this SDG, and sustainable tourism funds the protection of coral reefs and marine ecosystems rather than destroying them through overdevelopment and pollution. So later on, we'll also be looking into case studies and see what countries have done to protect the marine um, ecosystems in their own countries. Yep.
Okay, hi, I'm Erica, and I'll be sharing about the impacts and factors of unsustainable tourism. So firstly, what is unsustainable tourism? Unsustainable tourism is travel that fails to support the local environment, the culture, or the economy of a country. For example, having over-tourism or having very high pollution and waste, etc. And oftentimes, unsustainable tourism prioritizes having profit over preservation, so not prioritizing maintaining a good environment or culture or economy. So sustainable practices often cost more, hence it disincentivizes corporations from choosing these practices over much more cheap and convenient alternatives that are also unsustainable. So one of the impacts of unsustainable tourism is biodiversity damage. So the first part of this would be destroying habitats. So in order to prioritize things like infrastructure development, oftentimes natural habitats are destroyed to clear space for things like hotels, resorts, or transport, etc. That helps tourism but doesn't help the environment. There also is a lot of overexploitation of natural resources. So oftentimes tourists utilize significantly more natural resources than locals, for example, water, because they don't feel the need to conserve water when they're overseas. And therefore, it reduces the amount of resources for surrounding ecosystems and locals as well. Under biodiversity damage, there's also an impact of pollution. So a lot of air pollution is created from having increased transport, and there's water pollution as well because of untreated and contaminated sewage, oftentimes because of tourists. And there's also a lot of environmental pollution because tourists oftentimes litter when they're not in their home country, etc. There's also the impact of disturbing ecosystems. Because of increased human activity, there's a lot of noise pollution, and many tourist interactions can also disturb wildlife, which forces a lot of species to change their behaviors or to move to less favorable environments, which directly harms these species. It also causes a lot of damage to sensitive ecosystems, for example, when tourists are walking on hiking trails and causing soil erosion. So we're going to take a look at a few examples from Southeast Asia, which is a bit closer to home for many of us. So a lot of popular coastal destinations that we're going to look at include Maya Bay in Thailand, Sipadan Island in Malaysia, and Boracay Island in the Philippines. So within Southeast Asia, many countries in the region have also closed popular tourist spots in order to allow for environmental recovery. So in 2018, Maya Bay closed and it reopened only in 2022 because of a lot of damage to coral reefs caused by tourists and boats, and it also harmed a lot of marine life. The city of Honolulu also voted to close the Haiku Stairs in Hawaii in 2021, and it actually closed in 2024 because of all the environmental damage caused by tourism. There was also a lot of legal issues because the Haiku Stairs was actually not a legal route to go hiking in, and there was a lot of overcrowding because it was a popular tourist spot. The train street in Hanoi, Vietnam in 2019 and 2022 was barricaded by the authorities because it went viral on social media, which caused a lot of crowds to come down to Vietnam just for this train street. And because of the overcrowding, it became a very dangerous location because the street was very narrow. Therefore, the authorities felt like they had to close it for people's safety. And some districts in Kyoto, Japan will also close in 2024 because of tourist behavior. So many tourists actually harassed the people there and the locals and caused a lot of property damage, which made the authorities feel like it had to be closed to allow for local recovery. So some of the reasons behind unsustainable tourism and why it's so prominent these days is firstly the inadequate resources to manage over tourism. So mass influxes of tourists oftentimes outpace local capacity, and that strains public utilities, for example, water, power, waste management, etc. So it also strains facilities and infrastructure. So not just the tourist attractions themselves, but also the space around them. Because oftentimes when tourists go and visit other countries, they don't just go to tourist attractions, but they also go to other places that locals oftentimes go about during their days, which also causes overpopulation there. And the lack of resources, authorities, and manpower to curb all these challenges leads to insufficient provision of environmental protection and therefore leading to unsustainable tourism. Another reason behind unsustainable tourism is the lack of regulations. The lack of guidelines, policies, and laws in place to manage tourism and the factors that make tourism sustainable causes a lot of these bad impacts that we talked about earlier. For example, a lot of they might lack the policies and laws needed to ensure that prices remain affordable for locals, because a lot of times when you have a large influx of tourists, people have to up their prices in order to make profits, and therefore it becomes unaffordable for many locals there. Or having things like fixed timings for tours to manage over-tourism and overpopulation. So a lot of these countries could also lack knowledge about the situation due to the lack of feedback or audits within the country. And to fix this problem, it requires a lot of government intervention and authoritative bodies to take action.
Okay, next I'll be presenting on the introduction to sustainable tourism. So, as per the World Tourism Organization, there are three pillars of sustainable tourism, which includes environmental sustainability, social responsibility, and economic developments. And here are how the three pillars essentially correlate and connect with each other, with a significant code called meeting current needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. And this is a short infographic on how sustainable tourism is presented as an opportunity and how unsustainable tourism is a threat to current economic models and presentation of short-term thinking in terms of nations. Okay, so delving deeper into one of our pillars, which is environmental sustainability. It includes reducing pollution, which means to build renewable infrastructure for water and energy conservation efforts, which is most applicable in hotels and resorts as tourism is perceived as a luxury. And also includes conservation of biodiversity, things like coral reefs or like reforestation and deforestation. It includes the respect of local ecosystems such that local authorities should take precautionary measures for identified eco trails so that they are well preserved and for tourists to visit them. And it includes reducing one-time waste and overall carbon footprint, and also eco-friendly transportations that could be built in terms of that as the country itself transition to utilizing more clean energy vehicles. So next up is social responsibility, and that includes respect and appreciation of local cultures. And that means restoration projects or cultural trails, which focuses on the authenticity of such culture while attracting masses for tourism. And that means that tourism revenue is very important and that communities should not feel exploited or disturbed by such eco trails. And the last point is very crucial to the development of sustainable tourism, which is strictly no compromising on residential quality of life. So that means that if any sorts of mass tourism heavily disturbs the lives of local residents, which includes noise pollution or overcrowding, which may stir communal dissatisfaction. And one of the instances is Barcelona's anti-tourism conflict. And lastly, the last pillar is economic development, and that includes the creation of decent jobs, including the increased hiring of local hiring in terms of areas of construction, service management, or food and beverage industries. And according to the World Tourism Organization, there's also been a multiplier effect of 1.5 times of the current number of jobs that has increased due to tourism in such industries, which includes the circular flow of income in the economy, which means that the tourist brings their income, which is passed on to the local workers in such higher industries and thus passed on to local businesses as these workers spend a proportion of their income there. And this would also mean a generation of trade opportunities between these countries, which fosters a strong bilateral ties with other countries and also aims for equitable and inclusive economic growth, which focuses on fair employment and increased community participation. Next, we'll be exploring sustainable tourism around the world. So one of the key examples of sustainable tourism is Costa Rica. So to understand that, we will be looking at some numbers. So as estimated, there has been 3 million tourists visiting Costa Rica per year, more of it's drawn by abundant wildlife and environment, which includes the national parks, forest reserves, and wildlife sanctuaries that Costa Rica offers for tourists. And it shows how sustainable tourism aligns with economic development and environmental conservations. So one of the key findings that our team has found, and when doing our research, is that Costa Rica actually has no military and it focuses its spendings generally on social welfare. And such that community-based tourism actually affects and impacts the local community and rural communities positively, and that indigenous people of Costa Rica also can create their own educational and ecotourism programs for them to capitalize on tourism as an opportunity. Local sustainable tourism organizations also establish a green circle experience, which includes a network of 5 natural lodges, which means nature restoration, biodiversity protection, and local involvement are central in terms of these establishment of lodges, which are typically based in the middle of a forest, for say, in terms of that. So one of the specific eco lodge, which is Manquic Eco Lodge, is an ecological corridor filled with wildlife and biodiversity, including an endangered species called green macaw. So on your right hand side, you can see a picture of the green macaw, and built with natural materials which runs on solar energy. Such green eco lodges works closely with local farmers and communities. And this also brings in the concept of regenerative tourism practice, which is an approach in which travel not only causes less damage to the local community or no damage to the local community, but it also actively contributes to restoring the nature in terms of that. And such areas that are redesigned as nature reserves that restores flora and fauna and can also provide employment through ecotourism. So, but in hindsight, some of the potential issues that we have also found is it is hard to strike a balance between sustainability and tourism. And such balance can be easily broken with increasing foreign investments. So we have found that foreign MNCs purchasing and owning cheap plots of land in Costa Rica, which force locals to relocate to a more rural areas while the hotels itself take up city central. So this would, of course, impact the daily cost of living or things like rent or housing prices. So local living prices are highly inflated due to over-tourism, which are all inimical to locals. And it also puts up the trend of greenwashing of these like MNCs or like these major companies coming into Costa Rica. And there's a trend of hotels putting on eco labels, but their business practices indicate otherwise. And sustainable tourism would only work if it's holistic, as the balance must be delicate. So delving into Singapore in hindsight, our Singapore Tourism Board also established multiple tourism sustainable strategies, which focuses on environmental sustainability, industry transformation, such similar green experiences and international credibility. So our green plan, our Singapore Green Plan of 2030 emphasizes that tourism accounts for 4 to 6% and 10% of Singapore's GDP, respectively, when broader economic effects are included. So that includes things like impacts on the F&B industries or impacts on local hiring. And this reinforces the need for sustainable and economic development to coexist. There have also been hotel sustainability frameworks and minds frameworks to guide enterprises through suggestions and strategies. So looking at one of our specific local spotlights, which is Gardens by the Bay. So Gardens by the Bay is branded as a energy efficient and a revolutionary 21st century architecture that was designed. And it also includes a lot of sustainable practices. So for instance, on the picture, we can also see the energy efficient conservatories. If anyone has visited this tourist attraction before, it includes two like domes with a lot of nature reflections and manifestations in terms of these hotspots. And it also includes things like carbon neutral electricity generated, which is fueled in conjunction with some horticultural waste. And it also includes super trees and water recycling systems in the lake to simulate ecosystems, which depicts the role of plants in ecosystems and biodiversity conservation with certain wetlands included. And it also presents, as such, it also presents a thriving ground for flora and fauna, and overall, it also reduces overall energy consumption by 30%. So if any of the Indonesian youths are interested, you are more than welcome to explore this tourist destination called Gardens by the Bay and witness the great like the sustainable practices included in terms of that. Lastly, we'll be touching on government intervention on tourism. So we've talked about a lot on over tourism and how the government should implement sustainable tourism locally. So one of the ways is to curb over tourism so that there is an increase in social responsibility and social appreciation in terms of tourism. So a lot of popular tourist attractions have also placed tourist caps and visitor limits in terms of that, which mostly includes like a lot of extreme spot like tourist destinations like Mount Everest or Machu Picchu. And also there have also been entire countries which enforces tourist taxation systems, and it also includes promoting off-peak season tourism or a regulation of short-term rentals in terms of that. So specifically, I would like to present on Bhutan's tourism tax. So a fun fact is that it charges all foreign visitors. So basically everyone who doesn't hold a Bhutan passport, and if anyone ever visits Bhutan, it charges a sustainable development fee. So it is a quote unquote a tourist tax of US dollars of $100 per person per night in the country. So in fact, this fee went up in during COVID-19 because of inflation purposes, and it was only recently that the government brought it down. And in this form of government tax revenue, it aims to further develop its local society, which emphasizes more on environmental conservation and climate change projects. So in fact, the Bhutan government takes this fee charged and uses it to develop its own local projects in terms of that, and also offers a free healthcare and education for Bhutanese citizens, as well as using that fund to preserve its own cultural heritage sites. So it also reflects that the emphasis on gross national happiness index instead of the GDP, and such that its government and looks for people who actually wants to appreciate the local culture of Bhutan instead of merely going on a tourist attraction. And also discourages budget on like things like mass over tourism, where it focuses on tourists that respects local culture and is determined to stay longer in terms of that. But then on hindsight, one of its issue would be that how it evokes a sense of elitism in terms of that, because tourism itself is already regarded as a luxury, and such cases or such like policies will also only further reinforce that tourism is only for the wealthier people. Yeah, so and now we'll be heading into the discussion time. Okay, so this is a list of questions that we have found and that we would like our participants' opinions on. Yeah. So if possible, since we have a group of people here, is it possible for every participant to maybe unmute their mic and introduce themselves, maybe like name, age, and where they come from, or like just a simple like why they came for this workshop and such, and then we can proceed on with such discussion questions. Yeah, can we start it off with the group called Junrong, Newun, and Junyang? Yeah.
Yes. Hi, good morning. We are a group of three, and I'll start by introducing myself first. I'm Jun Yang. I'm currently serving national service. Before this, I have graduated from Hwa Chong Institution, and I'm excited to have an interesting conversation today. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Niwoon. I'm 17. I'm in Raffles. Very happy to be here just to learn more about what you guys think about sustainable tourism as well.
Hi guys, I'm Jerome. I'm currently serving NS as well, and I was formerly from VJ.
Thank you so much.
Yay!
Thank you.
Anyone else wants to introduce themselves? Maybe we can have one of the Indonesian youths. Can we have Felicia instead? Maybe just quickly introduce yourselves, your name, age, and like maybe why you chose to join this workshop. If not, we can also have Yao Min. Or maybe you can have Gabriella and Aura. Okay. Mr. Vira, would you like any of youths from your side to introduce themselves?
Hi, everybody. Before I introduce myself, I just want to recall some of our Indonesian youth, maybe in Indonesian first. Teman-teman kedengeran nggak suara dari teman-teman Singapura? Tapa, mungkin di sini ada siapa lagi Putra, kedengeran nggak? Bagus. Mungkin bagus dan teman-teman bisa unmute dulu, terus liatin kamera sama perkenalan diri boleh ya, Tapa dan teman-teman. Sama ini ada Desi, silakan. Okta juga boleh kok unmute dulu terus liatin kameranya. Sorry, Payan, so some of them are really shy, so silakan mungkin ini dulu deh, Putra dulu deh, silakan. Okay, I think I don't know. They are not responding. Let me check. So yeah, I mean, Payan, you can start with your side first. I'm checking with them. Well, yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay. So if not, we can have like, so we see this list of questions, right? Maybe we can have like Junyang to answer like the first question. What do you think as an individual itself, what can you do to ensure sustainable tourism is practiced in your society? And then you can pick one of your buddies to answer the next question, which is a role play scenario in terms of that. Yeah.
Hi, Payan. Thank you for the prompt. I think to start off the conversation, I have actually been to Gardens by the Bay just yesterday, and I think that, I think that, you know, like as mentioned on the slides, with respects to the energy efficiency in terms of say how horticulture waste is used to power the air conditioning in the flower dome and cloud forest, for example. These are examples of how government institutions or major institutions in countries and in the whole larger infrastructure of tourism can be used can be utilized to help work towards sustainable tourism. And I think that is an important facet that we can consider. But as an individual, I think firstly, when we engage in tourism in other countries, I believe the most important thing is to adhere to the principles and the rules and regulations that is set out by the respective countries. So say if I might be a citizen from country X, I come to Singapore and I will just follow the rules and regulations set out, and I think that applies for any country, any tourist, right? So I think that is first, rules and regulations. Secondly, I think in terms of how different stakeholders can come into play. I think we can just expand the question beyond an individual, right? How we can involve different stakeholders, perhaps beyond Singapore Tourism Board, maybe we can consider more dialogues with maybe other stakeholders, like maybe us, maybe other institutions like Garden by the Bay, having more dialogue and more communication to have a consistent feedback loop of knowing what are some of the demands, increasing demands by tourists, what are some aspects of sustainable tourism that we can continue to explore moving forward. These are conversations we can start discussing lah. So I think that would be a good, a decent way to start off the conversation. I think just as how Payne has asked me a question, maybe Payne can also help me discuss, his opinions on the second question. Considering that, I believe it's a good way to reciprocate. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for your insightful sharing, Junyang. Maybe we can have like one of the Indonesian used to also like answer the second question, such that we have a cross opinions between the two countries. So Mr. Wira, would you like to pick someone from your side?
All right.
How about Bagus? Maybe can you share on your opinions on, say, the second question? Hello, Bagus. Yeah.
Sorry, if I have quite a signals problem. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Hi, so sorry, I'm back. Bagus, can you hear us, right? You're on mute.
Can you hear my voice?
Yes, good.
Sorry, what was it about? I mean, I was kind of lost signals. I'm sorry.
Okay, so if you have any idea about the question number 2, say if you are a government official, what are some policies that the country can, if you can answer that, Bagus.
Okay, I think that I think that if I were government officials, I would like to introduce policies that maybe balance tourism growth with environmental and cultural protections, and maybe first that as a government we can limit the number of visitors in maybe like fragile or natural or cultural sites to prevent overcrowding. Maybe we can like, you know, invite local communities in tourism planning, so they're not only affected by tourism but also benefit from it. Maybe like for cultural preservations, the government can protect like traditional areas, like fund cultural education programs and require tourism business to present local culture respectfully, uh, not just as an entertainment for tourists. And maybe that's all I can say so far.
Yeah, thank you, Bagus. So we go to Payan again.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. See a hand raised just now. Okay. Maybe you can have Junrong to also answer like how does the National Tourism Board is planning to open up a Singapore tourism guide, and how would you plan this? So like quote unquote, like would you promote Singapore's local tourism attractions? Yeah.
I think first of all, there definitely you can consider like which like aspects of like Singapore do you want to like present to like foreigners? It's like do you want to perhaps showcase like various like sites of all of our major races, be it like for example, do you want to bring like sorry, you want to like perhaps incorporate like some heritage sites, like for example Haji Lane or like China or like Telok Ayer into like your various tourism guide routes and all that. And then also definitely you have to be able to get people who are very well versed with like local culture, be it from like the other ethnic groups, and then there. And also I think you also have to train them up in terms of like PR and all that, because I think as a tourism board, you definitely have to present like a sort of image to outsiders about like say what Singapore is like travelers as well.
Yep. Sure. Thank you. That will be it for the discussion portion. And then can I hand the time now to Mr. Wira for his presentation?
All right. So maybe I can call one person. Okta, are you here?
Yes, Kak. Tess, can you hear my voice?
Hello, Okta.
Tess?
Okay, I think she has a problem. But yeah, there are several youth actually that joining. I don't know why in Indonesia they bounce back. So they are trying to like joining all of this call, and suddenly they just went out by themselves. So but yeah, so it's just technical issue. Okay. So I basically will start. Say thank you very much for everyone here. And maybe can you just briefly introduce each connection? That's the key. Yeah, that's the key of sustainability. That's the key of ongoing improvement of the community. So, of course, what make the trips meaningful for you? I know some of us here, we love traveling. We like to go outside. We like to, see a different culture. We like to see waterfall, beaches, and stuff like that. But sometimes we never think about, is that meaningful? Not just for us, but also for the environment. So that's why I just want to share some of our program, what we do actually that in Bali that create meaningful trip for you. So first, for example, I just want to share that in Bali we have this philosophy called Tri Hitakarana. It's about relationship with spirit, with you, with others, and with nature. So on this experience, let's say I took you to not just see the temple or meet the people, but actually observe and immerse with them. You will join how they pray, you will understand how they talk, how they connect, you will eat their food, things like that. And how you really experience this concept of Tri Takarana, where you really connect with the trees, when you really connect with the spirit, with the ancestor. We take you to temple and we pray together, of course, but you also gain knowledge about how you really connect with your outer part of your body, which is the energy or the divine, things like that. So we have this experience. If you come to Bali, of course you can join. Next is about the place of people live, of course, the house, right? Bali architecture is one of the most unique architecture in the world. So we explore the architecture, we even come inside of this place and we understand about the philosophy. You can imagine when you learn about Bali architecture, we facing toward mountain and we sleep toward mountain. And all of this housing look like mountain. And all of this housing is like representing the human body, where we have head part, body part, and feet part. And as a traveler, we don't know about this thing, right? We just come, take picture, nice, beautiful, and we go home. So what we do here, it's mostly learning about all of this concept. We learn about the journey of the architecture. We also experience, how the human body in Bali used for the architecture. So that's, for example, the experience. And lastly, of course, how we immerse in the culture. So if you can see this picture, this is called offering in Bali. So we sometimes think as a traveler, what is this about? Is this about sacred stuff, or it's actually about connecting with the divine. We put flower because flower it's about vibration. We put incense. Incense is about connection. So all of this is is a whole ecosystem of Bali culture. We meet with people, we gain their knowledge, we learn about learning music and art, those kind of experiences that what we take and immerse, for example. And next is about local heroes immersion. So one of our local hero called Don Rare, or in English Don Rare, right? So Don Rare live in North Bali. So he live in the coastal area where they create a salt making, and of course there's fishermen there. And salt making are very traditional. They use the ocean water, they splash it, and they create salt out of that. But the thing is about we learn what is connection between mountain and the ocean. Sometimes we forget about all it's about connection. So when we think about rain, it's just a cloud that making rain in the mountain. It's not about that. Oh, it's about the flow of the ocean, evaporation that make rain. So Don Rare actually give us education about how the fishermen live, how the salt are made, how the community are like making income, and of course we will participate those activities. And next is about Ibu Agnes. So Ibu Agnes is a revolutionary local preschool in West Bali. So she basically educate a lot of preschool to a really creative way. You can imagine 6 years old kids, they learn about terrorism. 6 years old kids, they learn about sustainability or even sustainable tourism. It's not about, she's trying to make it fun, but it's actually reality. Their brain are actually starting to shape from that age. And we need to gain, those kids to be more aware about the environment. So when we bring traveler there, the traveler actually interact with the kids. And of course, they share about how the kids are actually, improve themselves, learn about sustainability in a young age. And lastly, Wayan Wardika. So if you know firefly, I don't know in Singapore you can see firefly anymore, but in Bali, firefly is almost distinct because a lot of fishermen, sorry, a lot of farmer here use pesticide, to kill the insect, and the firefly, they got killed too. And as you know, firefly is the most important for clean water indicator system in the nature. You can imagine if the firefly disappear, which is mean we don't have clean water in our nature. That's why Wayan Wardika is actually trying to protect and preserve this firefly so that a lot of kids actually they can experience, understand about what is the firefly function for our environment, and what not just firefly, dragonfly also, and others, specific insect that live in the nature that we forgot. So when we bring traveler there, we go around his village, we learn about the environmental impact, but we also support him about how we can protect the ecosystem. And of course, we have like tea maker who support a lot of women in the villages about, how they create, herbal teas, and how she can support the woman in the villages. So all of these local heroes, everybody, they have amazing story, they have amazing background, and they have powerful impact that we sometimes don't aware of. And these people were we trying to gain, how the traveler can understand their life. So that's about the local hero experience. So in Bali Island, this is the Bali Island. If you can see, we have West Bali side of course experience. We have North Bali side, we have East Bali and southern part of Bali. As you can see, Bali is a small island, but there are a lot of things happening. And we're trying to make Bali as a pioneer of the experience, of a responsible experience. So, for example, West Bali, you can find a very ancient fabric that's still preserved. North Bali, you can learn coffee from bean to table. In East Bali, you can learn about salt making, for example. Or southern part of Bali, you can learn innovation or local house things like that. So all of this experience we have, and of course, in Bali, if you come in the future, you can learn about specific things. Let's say textile. In Bali, we have this. I think in Southeast Asian country, we learn also about songket. We do have textile experience where in Bali we have songket, we have double weaver and things like that. So we actually bring Singaporean last year to learn about this journey of textile all around Bali. There's some aunties that learn about this. We took them around Bali to learn about the intricate and how we can understand the nature of coloring and stuff like that. And of course, food, similar like Singapore, we do have a lot of a gastronomic journey in Bali. There are a lot of spice happening, and we have the flow of where actually the tofu also came from, where actually this spices came from. We're not just about eating the food, but we learn their source coming from. We know how to use them, and we know what is the benefit for your health. So we have this experience too. And of course, sustainability journey. We took a lot of traveler to learn about ecosystem of mangrove. We took them to a mangrove journey that learning about this ecosystem and things like that. And not just about all of this experience, we also host team building, workshop, training, even mice. And wellness is also a big market that we also learn how to cater this market. For example, a mindfulness tour. So if you can imagine, there are a lot of people now they talk about healing, right? So we take them to Bali, for example, to do like yoga, meditation, wellness retreat, detox program, or even any thematic wellness journey. A lot of our market came from US, and they come to Bali, they meet with the local people, and they join the healing and wellness program. And of course, we also do a lot of educational travel program. So like service learning and experience learning, we're big thing. We just host the University of San Diego, and we will soon host the SMU, Singapore Management University. From Singapore, they wanna do like service learning project in Bali. We do a lot of impact study tours, academic and project implementation, educator field training, and also any thematic school tour. If you are really want to do some kind of educational experiences in Bali, we totally can collaborate with you. And of course, not just the five pillar experiences that I'm working on. So they're called five pillar edu travel. Five pillar edu travel, we work with a lot of university to gain knowledge, but not just about that. How we can build the movement of global citizen, so that the university or a global youth all around the world can understand the classroom, not just in the classroom, right? It's outside, it's in the reality. So that's what we do in the edu travel. And academy right now, I built this company actually to teach and to share skill, to talk about future skills, to talk about professionalism. Because sometimes a lot of young generation don't equip yet with nowadays, eras. A lot of AIs, a lot of technology are happening. So that's why academy now, helping them to equip them with future skills like public speaking, design, anything. And of course, lastly, the initiative is focusing on the local hero itself. So as you can see, each of these local heroes is having a huge movement and huge impact. But no one care, in Bali. So that's why this initiative are we trying to educate them, guide them, and give them access to funding. How they can also, gain more capacity so that they can also support more people in environment. So that's, in general, we don't just design experience, but we design impact that lasts, everybody. And that's about sustainable tourism. So here, when we talk about sustainability, it's not about the things that we talk today and the things that we do today, but it's lasts 1,000 years. So that's what I really want to do to build a legacy for the future generation. Thank you, everyone. That's my a little bit about me, and now I can open the like discussion. If you wanna know more about me, if you wanna know more about the five pillar, please do ask question or we open discussion. Thank you, everybody. Payan, back to you.
Hi, Mr. Wira. Thank you so much for your sharing. We really appreciate it, and we really gained a lot of insights from this sharing. So I think we'll start off the Q&A first with some questions for you before we open it to the floor and let our participants ask questions. So the first question we have is, Bali is often marketed as a eco-tourism destination, but it also faces issues like over-tourism and waste management. So what do you think is the biggest challenge that Bali still faces?
Thank you for the question. So I understand that, the branding look like ecotourism, sustainable tourism. You see, the reality is not like that. Sorry to say that. I mean, I'm the practitioner here, see all of this reality. The big challenge is alignment, of course, Sometimes the promotional, what the government said, what all of this media said, is not aligned what is the reality is. And of course, those alignment connect with unprepared things. A lot of community here that trying to be sustainable tourism is not prepared yet, and that's why right now, I mean, a lot of our vendor, a lot of the hotel that we work with, they are starting to be aware about how they can be prepared and how they can be aligned and what is the government plan, for example. So, and also the next biggest challenge is about the politics. We get impacted a lot from the unmanaged systemation of political things happening in Bali Island. If you heard about, unmanaged waste, if you heard about the transportation, is just like, it's uncontrolled, because our lack of policy implementation, and that's make a lot of our vendor, a lot of our tourism provider are just do on their own. It's not managed well from the government. So I think that's what I can share a little bit about, lack of alignment, and lack of preparation, and of course, the political situation in Bali. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. I think that was really insightful. So we just have one more question before we hand the time over to the participants. Out of all the projects that you've worked on, which one impacted you the most personally and why?
I think that's a great question too. So most of that project, the most that I really, really, of course, appreciate and be grateful is the Local Heroes project, where when the first time I met with these people, I felt that they are just abandoned. No one talk about that. No one care about their project. Since that, I bring, let's say, I bring one of the guests to the school, let's say, or the local innovation, and they start to think that, oh, they really appreciate their work, and the guests actually support them a lot. And since then, this impact myself too, not just about emotionally, but also economically. So I can, of course, support economically the local hero, but at the same time, the local hero also can benefit, our movement. So from there, this project are, expanding right now to all of these 90s local hero all around Bali, also abroad. So I think that's one project that I really do focusing on now, and I do really great.
Okay, thank you so much. So now we're gonna pass the time over to the participants. If they have any questions to ask, they can ask now. So if there are any participants who want to ask questions, can you guys please unmute yourselves and introduce yourselves and then ask your question to Mr. Weera.
Hi. Good afternoon. The panel, and of course, morning. Good morning. The panel, and of course, Mr. Weera. Thank you so much for your insightful discussion. About what you do. And with regards to your feats in boosting local tourism and introducing the more authentic side to Bali. I was just wondering that how we can replicate that in Singapore as well, because in Singapore I believe that there are also many forms of, be it cultural tours, or there are some cultural destinations that are present and present a lot of potential, but I think similar with the Instagram factory phenomenon that you have mentioned, in Singapore especially, we face the issues of maybe tourism being centered around a few spots only, like the Malayan Park, for example, Gardens by the Bay, all these very flashy sites. So I was just wondering how we can pursue that in Singapore as well, and what were some of the main challenges you had faced while you were pushing for programs, say like the Local Heroes program, so on and so forth. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you very much. Fun fact, actually, I just went to last time. I think when I met Alden, I went to Singapore for 10 days, like last month or 2 months ago, and that's what I do actually. I met a lot of local heroes in Singapore by accident. So actually, to answer your question, everywhere there are a lot of hidden local heroes. If you can aware about that, because sometimes our life is already in a block, right? In a box, right? So that's why even me as a Balinese, even I go outside, I will not meet all of these people. But what I'm doing is about, of course, asking the very local people. Let's say you go to Hawker's Market, you ask people there, oh, who's actually still preserving the original Singaporean wonton noodle, let's say like that. So last time, actually, when I explored the Singapore, So I met some people, let's say like a very local storyteller. I don't know if you know Hafiz from Kampung Gelam, kind of a storyteller. And of course, like I actually will bring Washington State University next year to Singapore to also do all this like local human connection in Singapore. So we will go to, let's say, Kampung Glam. We may go to Pulau Ubin, let's say like this. And yeah, we also talked about the Orang Laut last time. So I think a lot of those kind of local innovation also lead to a local heroes project, And of course, we really want to meet with the local champion in Singapore. And in the beginning, how we meet with these people, first, we do map. We do call resource mapping and community mapping. When you go, let's say you focus on one area in your side, let's say Holland Village. I know like it seems very impossible, but when you explore one area, you go around and you meet the local seller, you meet with local like uncle. You just have a light discussion with them. Hi uncle, how are you? Where are you? Stay close by, and the cemetery behind me, what is the story? So it's like you just ask question to those local people. From there, sometimes they just start talk, and they just start to share what is about. And sometimes they must mention somebody. Oh, this auntie actually still doing like a very traditional Singaporean weaving, let's say. Or that uncle are still preserving how to make a traditional shoes, let's say. Sometimes we just meet those things. And local hero for us is not just about people that are helping thousand people, not like that. A local hero is can be simply mean that they're still doing preservation. They still are trying to share an idea. They have like a local wisdom or local initiative, even though not supporting people, but at least that local community that actually still care about preservation, still care about building harmony within their life and their culture, or even just make a simple food waste management system in their HDB, for example. They can also do that. So again, please do not think that, oh, local hero, I need to find them. They will help a lot of people. No, no, not like that. Even us, we just met with one fathers in the village. He was doing nothing, but he has an idea about, I want to make organic farming, and start from that idea. We gain some knowledge for him, and we give them, and then suddenly he just make his own organic farming now, and then he become local heroes. So it can be like that too. It can be just from zero, a person who had an idea, image. There are plenty of that. You just need to find them with connected with the local people. Thank you. I hope.
Ken, thank you so much. My friend here,
Yeah.
Neyman, also has a question as well.
Hi, Mr. Virat. Thank you so much for your sharing. You motivated me to go to Indonesia very soon, hopefully. I just wanted to share my background a little bit also. I'm a part of the archives and museum in my school. So your part about getting stories from local heroes and hearing the really authentic and genuine voices from the ground. I think that's something that really hit home for me. I wanted to ask you for your thoughts in terms of longevity, right? A lot of these local heroes, a lot of these cultures, they're often dying out because there's no successors to replace them, and the future generation don't learn about these in that sense. So I was wondering, two folds, right? The first is, do you think this problem can be solved? Like, do you think these cultures will erode, and eventually disappear over time? And if so, or even if not, what steps do you think we can take to increase exposure to especially youths, to motivate them to champion this cause or to learn these skills as well? Thank you so much.
That's a great question. Well, actually, that's what I'm doing right now, the work. So if you can see earlier, the 5 pillar, right? So before in Bali, let's say, we almost lost this philosophy of Trikita Karana, because what? First, we just thinking of culture. Second, we're just thinking of people. And third, we're just thinking of spiritual things. We never think of economy and education. here, it's all about, of course, the regeneration, how we can regenerate, maybe not exactly the same, but the essence is still there. Let's say in Bali, you can see the offering a long time ago is made all natural. But now, all natural, you need to buy stuff, right? You need to buy flower, you need to buy a leaf, right? Maybe in Singapore, do the same. Like, you need to buy flower and fruit. A long time ago, you just need to pick it. But for us, we're still doing it, but the essence is still there. So that's why education is very important here. Education not just about in a university, right? But it's also about how you can gain those knowledge for the next generation. So that's why we do a lot of a youth skills training for culture. We do a lot of that. Let's say maybe you can make a Singaporean culture class, let's say, and just bring like a few young people that never understand about Singaporean culture to a local family. They sit down with the local family, they make Singaporean dumplings. From there, they already gain insight a lot from how they can do something else in the future. Maybe they can innovate something. And the second one is economy. We need to make income, we need to make money. Sometimes a lot of culture preservation, all this kind of thing, we never think about making income, right? We just preserve and suddenly lost because we cannot make money. I met some also Singaporean, they have like gallery, let's say, and they cannot make money because they just buy a lot of this, like like a local artisan, things like that. It seems supporting, but it's not last long. So what do we do here in Bali, how we can also promote the word of culture economy, like collaborative economy, sorry, we call it collaborative economy, where yes, we can doing preservation, in the same time how these people also can make income. Again, it's about collaborative economy. How, when we doing preservation, we doing environmental stuff or movement, in the same time you make income. That's what we do. So that's why five pillar, yes, we support a lot of these local heroes and stuff, but how we also make sure that they make income ongoing, not just about today's income, but like ongoing. That's why today we have, like, let's say we have one village. This one village gain like a lot of responsible traveler to support this village, for example, every week and every month, let's say. But let's say this traveler not coming, they already have their own thing. They have farming, they have fishing, they have things, so they're already doing their basic need. Tourism is just what do you call, it's just bonus. So that's why to make sure longevity, we need to make sure that the young generation is educated. And yeah, of course, the local hero educate them. The second one, they can gain economy. Let's say you guys want to continue maybe dumpling maker for a future generation. So how you can educate people, and how you also can make income out of that, sustainability or culturally or local innovation that you think that actually build our identity, things like that. So I hope that answer your question. It's worked for us because I've been doing this for 10 years, and a lot of this things happening is it's just about regeneration in general.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was just very interested as one part that you mentioned, right? You mentioned about giving income to these people who are providing intangible cultural heritage, these aspects, right? These skills and traditions. I was looking at it from the consumer perspective, or like the people who are appreciating it, whether it's youth or whether it's your students, right? I think a common issue that we face, especially in Singapore, is that because there's no incentive, right? Like if I go for these talks, if I listen to these stories, I'm not going to score better for my exams. I'm not going to get a nice boost on my profile. So I don't really want to do this. It's a waste of my time, right? So I was wondering, whether you've tried any incentives so far, or what are some mechanisms that we can employ to motivate more youth to participate in these intangible cultural heritage initiatives? Yeah, just a quick follow-up. Thanks.
Thank you. So talking about incentive, of course there are a lot of ways. Incentive, of course, not just about money in general, but first we do program. Let's say last time I take a lot of young generation to learn about the subak system, which is the rice field management system. So of course, they actually come voluntarily because their incentive is to gain some experience, and of course some of the young people from university. And the second one, they can also make idea of a business, you know. So sometime I also open like a recruitment of young generation. So let's say I was bringing them to incense factory, to local incense factory, this young generation. And of course, the incense factory gain promotional. They can sell their product, things like that. And what about the young generation? You know, so we cannot cater all of these young people, but there's a few of young generation that interested to make a business, right? Right? Maybe they can work together with them. They can collaborate with the local heroes, because since 10 years that I work, some young generation that they actually collaborate with some of this local community. So let's say you connect with one business owner in local Singaporean. So you come there, you learn about their project, and you can support them to make income while you also make income. Me, even though you are in the university. So I can see that too. Last time, some of our young people, they also sell honey. Let's say the very from the locals. So, and also vegetable, one of our team creating a vegetable business because of this local heroes inspiration, for example. So there are a lot of ways that we can actually shift the mindset of, you know, consumerism to more impactful consumerism, you know, so that in the same time we can support them, in the same time we also can preserve their environment and of course the culture, and also we can still be in the business era, be in the consumerism, that we also can gain some income out of that. So when we're not just about thinking that, oh, this is just free things or just consume my time, but it's actually gain incentive for you. I hope that answers.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Vira. Learned a lot.
Thank you so
Thank you very much.
Hi. If there's any more questions from the floor, you are more than welcome to unmute and ask. If not, you can also type in the chat for Mr. Vira to see.
Okay, maybe I would
Okay.
ask some questions.
Yeah.
Am I audible? Okay. So hi. First of all, I would like to say introduce myself again. My name is Okta, and I want to ask in a Balinese perspective. Maybe Mr. Vira is also a Balinese, but I'm still curious about a lot of things because I involved a lot in like voluntary activities, especially in terms of like sustainability. And as a Balinese, I discover a lot, especially the overtourism aspect that in Bali. So I was kind of wondering, like, as you guys know as well, that Bali's main source of income is like tourism, right? How can we balance between like the over tourism itself and also like we still get the money from tourists itself? Like, how can we should we like lower the like aspect of the tourist itself, or like how can we like balance that? Do you get what my question is, Mr. Vira?
Yes, that's a really great question. So, I mean, this is also implemented in a lot of countries that depending on tourism. So, if you can imagine the pandemic happened, right? Everything is collapsing. So, tourism was just like becoming disappearing at the time. And what's happening when the pandemic happened? If you can realize that we going back to basic. People start to sell food, people start farming, people start fishing, right? We back to basic. So if we can imagine nowadays, yes, we cannot control the Bali depending on tourism because it's set up for tourism. It is some businesses set up for tourism, some businesses they set up for that economy. But what about if we can imagine that we can set up business for both sides? If tourism disappear, we can still exist. That's why the power of local heroes is very important. Let's say if we have this local hero, one is a farmer, one a fisherman, one is spice maker, and one is like a firewood maker, whatever. So it's like all become one ecosystem, and a crisis happening, no tourists anymore. We still can live. So what I really imagine here, it's about outside of beyond tourism. Of course, tourism for me is a bonus. Tourism is a bonus, but a lot of people think tourism is the main economy. It's actually not. Like Singapore, maybe tourism not main economy, maybe not tourism, but other things, right? But in Bali, people think main economy is tourism. That's why they're raising a lot in terms of tourism activity, tourism facility, tourism that, tourism this. But in our side, in the five pillar, how we can balance from that economy to a really basic economy, which is people economy. Basic need, let's say food, gastronomy, fishing, salt, this kind of thing. So that if we can make that bigger, okay, and now it's supporting by tourism, but in the future, if tourism are finished, so how that economy can be their own economy, can be, like self-sustaining economy. So, but of course, to change that now is super hard because, of course, in Bali, what's happening with internal politics, they mostly support the big businesses that go to tourism. But what about later when we are stronger from our local voice? We can even beat crisis, because we already have our own resources. We can manage our own, economy itself. So that's why five pillar narrowing, becoming one ecosystem to, of course, protecting the resources, educating the people, gain some knowledge, of course, gain some income for the local community and things like that. I hope that answer question, Okta, in your.
Yes, that's pretty insightful, Mr. Rila. Thank you so much.
Hi, if anyone has any more questions, do ask them now. Okay, if not, sorry, okay. If not, we can proceed on to the last segment of this workshop, which is the feedback form. So can everyone scan the QR code on the screen? Yeah. Yeah, I'll give 3 more seconds. Okay. 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 If not, we'll be taking a photo right now. Can everyone available please on your camera so that yeah, this is for publicity purposes. Ah. Okay. Okay. 3, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vira, for your presentation and your sharing. It's been a pleasure for us and an honor for us to invite you here today and share your insights on your experiences to all the youths here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vira.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, everybody. See you soon. See you in Bali.
Okay, that concludes our workshop. Thank you everyone for coming also and sharing your opinions.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.